Hi, this is Jordan Ramirez, and normally I host my podcast show, Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez. Now I am hosting a special show for my podcast, Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez Minisode Jordan Ramirez Recommends. The minisodes are now airing every Monday at 12 p.m. as part of the Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez podcast. So, without further ado, you are listening to a Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez Minisode. My recommended film is the dark romantic comedy A New Leaf, released in 1971, directed by Elaine May, starring Walter Matthau and Elaine May. Henry Graham, portrayed by Walter Matthau, is a wealthy playboy who has enjoyed life to the fullest and spending money. However, Henry receives the news from his attorney that he is broke. Just as Henry was thinking about calling his uncle to loan him money, his attorney advises him against it. So, when he arrives home, he asks his butler for some advice of what he should do in order to become financially stable. His butler, Harold, played by George Rose, advises him that he should get married to become financially stable. So he makes the arrangements with his uncle Harry, played by James Coco, that he has to find a bride, marry her, and repay all the money for his debt within 6 weeks, or else he has to forfeit all his possessions. Once he found the right woman, Henrietta Lowell, played by Elaine May, he decides that he should murder her once they are married so that he can have her wealth. As I was watching this film, I found it to be a quirky, oddball comedy with a mix of dark humor. I thought of it as a Hitchcockian comedy film with thrills and laughs. Matthau and May on screen, in my opinion, make one of the most strangest comedy couples, even if it involves murder. When it comes to some of my favorite comedic moments with both May and Matthau with their chemistry on screen, they are the date scene at the restaurant when Henrietta talks about the Malaga wine with soda water and lime juice in their conversation with her future husband Henry, the proposal scene when Henry is trying to propose to Henrietta but shatters a wine glass with his kneecap as he is kneeling down on the floor, and the honeymoon scene when Henry is helping his wife, Henrietta, with her Grecian dress. The cinematography in the film by Gain Rescher feels Hitchcockian when it comes to the choice of camera angles. In the restaurant scene, for example, the camera is at a low angle with the glasses appearing in the foreground, while the characters who are engaging in the conversation appear much further away from the glasses, thereby making them feel smaller. And the dialogue scene between Matthau and May in the scene in one instance is done with a mirror in the background so that we see May's face as she is talking to Matthau in the sequence as a sort of unique camera angle shot. The film's basis started out as a short story by Jack Ritchie called The Green Heart, that was published in Alfred Hitchcock's Mystery Magazine in May of 1963. The film's original producer was Howard W. Koch, but he eventually left the project and it was handed to Stanley Jaffe, even though Howard W. Koch's name still appears in the credits of the film. It would mark the directorial debut of Elaine May, who was best known as being part of the comedy duo Nichols and May during the early 1960s decade. She would not only direct the film, but also write the screenplay and co-star in it as well. The relationship between May and the studio did not go well. Elaine May submitted to the studio a rough cut of the film that lasted 3 hours. The studio was not pleased, so they took the project away from her and re-edited the film as they saw fit. Elaine May filed a lawsuit against the studio stating in her own words, "Paramount informed me that the film release would be that as cut and edited by Frederick Fritz Steinkamp, a Hollywood editor, and Robert Evans, a vice president of Paramount." She accused the studio of distorting her project and that she would not claim the film as her own work, stating, "I made a film about a man who commits 2 murders and gets away with it. In this new version, the murders have been eliminated." The murders in that version involved Henrietta's lawyer, Andrew McPherson, played by Jack Weston, and a blackmailer, played by William Hickey, whose role was eliminated in the final film. Another eliminated scene was a dream sequence in which Henrietta imagines herself as a seductress. Paramount's response to her claims are summed up by this statement in their own words. Elaine May failed to perform her duties as a director in a timely, workmanlike, and professional manner, resulting in substantially increased production costs. Ultimately, the New York Supreme Court sided with the studio, and Elaine May lost the court case. May vowed to appeal to have her name removed from the credits, but it was never filed. The film was released on March 11, 1971. While the film gained positive accolades and rave reviews, however, the film was not a box office hit. The film languished into obscurity in the years after its release. The film later became a cult classic, and in 2019 was inducted by the Library of Congress to be part of the National Film Registry. I highly recommend this film as a rarity from its own time, and the fact that even though Elaine May wanted to make the film in her own vision, that in the end was taken away from her, shows the misogynistic attitude that still exists within the Hollywood studio system. But I still admire the performances by Matthau and May, the dark humor, cinematography by Gain Rescher, and the fact that it feels like a film that Alfred Hitchcock could have made but never did. On the next episode of Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez, it's greed, family, religion, and from the original title of the story, oil. Daniel Day-Lewis stars in There Will Be Blood from 2007 and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. That's coming up this Friday on Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez at 4 p.m. on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Radio Public. This has been a Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez minisode. Tune into the minisodes every Monday at 12 p.m. and Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez every Friday at 4 p.m. on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Radio Public. If you're on Spotify, make sure to like and subscribe to keep the show going. And make sure to recommend your friends and family members to tune into this podcast. I also have my very own YouTube channel, Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez, where you can watch my video podcasts and make sure to like and subscribe. And until then, I'll see you at the movies.